record this, and we are now recording, ringing up Dr. Saleem. Dr. Saleem, yes. So should be ringing. It's not ringing.
Hello, Dr. Saleem.
Good afternoon, Dr. Saleem. It's Mr. Hussain. I'm calling as per our booked time. How are you?
How are you? I'm good. How are you, Mr. Hussain?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for arranging to facilitate the call today. The reason that it's been necessary for the call is because, as you are aware, you've made a mental capacity assessment, and that's been handed to me recently by the solicitor. And when I proceeded to ask questions on the report, the solicitor was not in a position to give me answers to those questions. So therefore, I asked, well, how can I get a clarity of these questions? And he has advised me that I can speak to yourself. So that has been the reason for this call today. And thank you for taking the call. And just before I begin, I just wanted to, I made a quick note of how I wanted to structure our conversation today. I mainly had 4 points to discuss, with the fifth one being that any further questions from yourself. The first point that I wanted to discuss with yourself was the basis of the questions in relation to how you had been instructed, and so that's basically from your initially being contacted up until your first contact with myself on the 6th of September. So I had loads of questions asked regarding this, and the solicitor could not really answer those questions. So that's the first point. That's the first part. The second part, I wanted to gain a little bit further clarity from yourself regarding the legal issues and medical terminologies and issues. So that's the second part. And then the third part was to go through the timeline between the 6th of September, when you had first emailed me, to the creation of your report on the 22nd of September. And then the fourth part was to just look at the report itself, where I had some questions. And the fifth part being any questions that you wanted to ask me. Would that be an acceptable structure for our conversation?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Just before we start, though, Mr. Hussain, I just wanted to let you know that I'm just making some notes as we go along.
That's fine.
And part of speaking to you may add to my assessment that I've already done, and may lead me to change my report that I've already done.
Well, I mean, the purpose of this conversation is for me to gain clarity of understanding. It's not part of the assessment process. So I'm sorry, I cannot consent to it being part of any assessment. I'm simply ringing up. The assessment has been completed, and I'm simply looking to gain clarity of understanding.
I see. Okay. I'm not sure how to proceed with that then, in that case.
Well, I mean, you can assist me in clarifying the understanding. I mean, this is not this. I mean, is it your interpretation that this session today is a deferred assessment process?
Well, as part of, obviously, to assess capacity, it's very important to speak to the person involved. So
yes, I agree. I agree with you fully, sir. I agree with you fully, and this is why your report has left me discombobulated. That so these are some of the questions I wanted to discuss with you. I would urge you to allow me to proceed, and should you feel it necessary, then you can at a later stage go to the courts and say, look, I want to, obviously use this, because obviously, like I said, I do not consent to an assessment at this moment in time, because that was not my intention of calling you. I have an agenda that I wanted to go through. I raised 4 points with yourself. I just wanted to get some clarity of understanding, and should you feel at some stage that that it felt it warranted to go to the courts to utilize the notes today, then obviously the solicitor can do that, and I can obviously make my arguments. But I would urge you to consider proceeding with this call as per my agenda, so I gain a clarity of understanding.
Right. I think in that case, I'm just thinking it through in my head now. So I've done a report on behalf of your solicitors, and what you're saying is you just want to get some clarity about some of the things that are in the report.
No, sir, no, that's not correct. I explained to you the reason for this appointment being arranged at the suggestion of the solicitor. Okay?
Yeah.
And the reason that the solicitors made the suggestions is because when I have asked him certain questions regarding the formulation of this report, he's been unable to answer those questions.
Okay.
All right. So I mean, the first thing is.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm happy to answer the question.
Okay, that's good, sir. Because obviously, one of the questions I had asked him, I mean, you are aware that did you read the court order stating that the report had to be handed in by the 3rd of September?
Which report do you mean by that?
The assessment report.
To be honest, I've been asked to do the capacity assessment.
That's the report, yes. That's the capacity assessment report. Were you made aware that the report, the capacity assessment report, had been ordered to be completed by the 3rd of September? Were you made aware of this?
I honestly, off the top of my head, I can't probably answer. If you're going to ask a lot of questions regarding timelines,
I am, yes.
It may be better to put it. I think it may be better to put it in writing to me in that case, and I can answer you properly.
Well, I mean, it's not a big timeline, is it? We're not going back many. I just need to look. First of all, I wanted to know when you were first contacted.
See, I'd have to look through my emails, Mr. Hussain. I'm not just trying to be difficult. Honestly, I do many of these reports.
Okay.
I was given. I can tell you this much. I was given a deadline for the 21st of September.
Well, that's okay.
And when in this report.
Okay, well, I mean, okay. So you know what is, if there's anything that you feel you don't want to answer, or the fact that you can't answer at this moment in time, I'm not here to put you on the spot or interrogate or anything like this. If you can just quickly make a note of the questions I'm asking, and you can reply to me in writing if you feel that's more appropriate.
Well, I mean, it'd probably be easier if you can just send them in writing.
Well, you see, I'm not a professional. I'm not obligated to put things in writing. I'm on the telephone call with you, and the first thing I've asked is that, were you made aware that the report? I mean, did you read the court order?
Mr. Hussain.
Yes.
I think honestly, I was under the impression that this call was part of my assessment.
Well, who gave you that impression?
If you have a lot of these sort of questions, I think it would be better to put them in writing and go through the solicitors who can give them to me.
No, sir. I mean, I'm on the telephone with you. You can write the questions down. You can understand them. Maybe sometimes things get lost in writing. So, I mean, you've told me right now that you were instructed that the report had to be in on the 21st. Did you say? Well, that's not correct, is it? So it's one of these things that I need to find out. You have information, and I need that information to understand what's actually happened, because after speaking to the solicitor, one of the questions I had asked is why was it necessary for you to contact me on... you did contact me first on the 6th of September, about, I think, 7:10, the email stated, for a follow-up consultation the following day. I just wanted to know why the 6th, and why the following day, because obviously in your report you go on to write that I had refused the assessment process, and I just wanted to gain a clarity of understanding of some of the statements that you've made in the report, and that was, obviously, so I just wanted to know what was the justification of contacting me on the 6th out of time.
I'm not sure if I understand the question, but...
Well, let me rephrase it, and this is why it's important for me to have a conversation with you. It's like, you first contacted me by email on the 6th at 5:10, I think, saying that you wanted me to contact you for an assessment the following day, which was the 7th of September. Now,
Yeah.
I wanted to know I mean, I know the order was made on the 5th of July. So why the delay in contacting, getting in touch with me?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, questions like that, honestly, I can't answer off the top of my head because I don't,
You can write
like
them
I said,
down.
I've been looking for,
You can write them down.
sorry?
You can write them down if you want.
No, I prefer if you send it in writing through the
Well,
solicitor. You can send it to
I
me.
understand, sir, but you can understand that I'm not obligated to write things down. Obviously, it's a you're a paid professional. You get paid to write things down. I don't. And obviously, I'm taking the time out to speak to you today, and I think you're just being objectionable for nothing. I'm giving you the opportunity. You don't need to answer them, but these are the inquiries that the solicitor had failed to address, because one of the questions you can understand that a court order was made on the 5th of July, all right, stating that this individual, because of concerns, I didn't raise the concerns. These were concerns raised by the solicitor. Now, these are concerns raised by the solicitor into the court. The court felt it necessary for me to be assessed. Okay. And so, therefore, I have asked the simple question to the solicitor that the order quite clearly states that the assessment report needs to be handed in by the 3rd of September. So, I mean, I pressed him upon that question. Why has this report come in at a delay? Why were the other parties not made aware of this delay? Why had yourselves been made that the deadline date was the 21st of September, not the 3rd of September? So these are questions that he was unable to answer. And so therefore, he asked me to contact, I mean, he said he's suggested that I can, you can answer those questions. And I feel slightly duped right now, to tell you the truth. If he had put it, I mean, I feel kind of like something untoward has happened in this interaction, because my understanding is that he couldn't answer those questions. He directed me to yourself, and then for your understanding, what he's explained to you is that this is a continuation of an assessment process. That can't be right, because the assessment is now concluded with your report has been finalized. It's a final version. I'm looking to question the contents of that report. For him, it's like, you can understand how someone in my position may believe that this doesn't seem right, because he's explained one thing to you and another thing to me. Because if it was your understanding that this telephone call today was an extension of your assessment, then that's quite clearly factually inaccurate. I explained to you at the start of this conversation that the purpose of this call today was for me to gain clarity of understanding regarding what has happened.
Exactly. That's why I was a little bit surprised, and that's why I explained to you that my understanding was that this is part of my assessment, so I can modify the report based on today's conversation. But you said
no, this is not
you're
correct, sir.
To that assessment.
Yeah, this is not correct, sir, because obviously that was not that's not what's been explained to me. If, for example, the solicitor had told me, well, if you're not happy with the report, I'm quite happy for you to actually speak to the doctor in order to put your points across. If he had said that, then you can understand that's like, for example, if my grievance was, look, this doctor's made a report about me, found me I lack capacity, and he's not even met me or spoken to me, maybe I should speak to him and maybe to reevaluate the report. If that was a conversation I had with the solicitor, that would be all fine. But as I explained, this is not the conversation I did have with the solicitor. The conversation I had with the solicitor was this: that I need clarity of understanding why there's been a delay in getting the report submitted. And so so you understand. So he couldn't answer those questions. I asked him the question that you understood the court order was quite clearly written down that the report had to be handed in by the 3rd of September. Now, if there was a delay, is it, I mean, look, let me ask you this question. When you initially agreed or gave a quote for your services, you no doubt would have given your pricing, yes?
Yes.
And you would have also given your availability.
Yeah.
So can you tell me that what availability did you state at the time? Did you state that you would be in a position, because obviously that goes into the selection process. Now, as part of gaining a quote and a part of selection process, you've submitted a quote. You've submitted a quote saying, yes, I can do it at this price, and this is my availability. This is how soon I can get the report. Because as you can appreciate, the solicitor had many other reports. No, sorry, many other candidates. Now, the selection of yourself was not dictated by the solicitor. Somebody else selected you, and I'm just trying to understand for myself what the criteria was of selecting yourself. Because I need to understand that there's no bias here. Because, for example, if your quote was the cheapest and also had the quickest turnaround time, then your selection would have been justified. But the reality is that your turnaround time has been, obviously outside of the time period. So the question I need to have understood is this: that why was Dr. Saleem selected? And if he couldn't turn around the time, so where does this liability lie of getting this report in on time? So hence myself asking you the question, that were you made aware that the report had to be handed in on the 3rd of September as per the court order? Was that made aware to you?
Okay. Mr. Sain, what I can try to find out is when I was first instructed on this case. I might be able to give you that because I'll probably have that email in my record.
Okay.
So I can tell you that. But I'm not trying to be difficult, but honestly, I don't. I mean, a lot of questions you're asking, I simply don't know.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find when I was first instructed on this.
Yeah. Because I believe, just to guide you, I believe that what the solicitors told me, that it was at the end of July that the letter had gone out to yourself.
Let me check.
Yeah, sure.
It's just have to do a bit of a search.
No, it's okay. So take your time.
SH capacity assessment. There we are. Just scrolling down, I've got a few string of emails here. Seeking instructions. So we are seeking instructions.
Okay, what date was that email?
So this one says we are seeking instructions, so that's still not been.
Yeah. So what date was that?
That was the 13th of August, that one.
So the first time they were seeking instructions from yourself was 30th of August?
Let me just check properly to find out when I was instructed.
Yes.
Normally I'll get an email saying now, I've been instructed. That will be the most accurate thing for you.
Yes, but I mean, it's the most accurate thing would be for me when you gave the quote. So when somebody was seeking instructions from yourself.
When I give the quote.
When you were first approached. Because obviously it would have been after the 5th of July, because obviously before the 5th of July there was no order. So it would have been after the 5th of July where the solicitor would have approached you or through whatever organizational structure and asked you, look, we need this capacity assessment. Are you able to do it? And what price and what's your availability?
Yeah. Let me see now. Quite hard to find in these.
Yeah. I don't want to put you under pressure. You got all the time. No rush.
Yeah, no problem. I can see some email going back to 16th of August.
16th of August. Okay, all right.
There's definitely something going back to wait a second. No. I can't seem to find the actual email that was when I was first instructed.
Okay, not a problem. Because
I'm still looking.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Yeah, sure.
Why can't I find it? 1 second. Let me try a different search. That's not very helpful. the reason why it's a little bit complicated is because I actually had an interview with your mother's ex-social worker and current social worker, so that's why all the emails are a bit mixed up. Because
well, I mean, the email.
They said you're not cooperating with the assessment, so
No,
I
sir.
have to speak
No,
to
no,
them.
sir. I mean, that's fair enough, but that would have been you would have contacted Bradford Council. But this is just with the social work. This with the solicitors, and this is going to be the very start of it, innit? When they're approaching you and asking you, look, can you be a candidate?
Yeah. God, let me see. It's very hard to find the initial email, to be honest, right now.
Well, what's the first one that you've got? You got the 16th of August so far.
Yeah, I've definitely got I think it was 13th of August there was one as well.
Okay. Did you receive anything in writing in a letter? Maybe it would have been in a letter.
No, I just saw through email.
Oh, it's all in email. Okay. So the earliest one that you got is the 13th of August.
Yes, that's the earliest one I can find on this matter.
Okay, because it would have been between the 16th of August and the 16th of July and 13th of August. So that period of maybe 4 weeks. Because obviously the order was received. The direction was given on the 5th of July, and your selection was made on the 16th of July.
Oh, right, okay.
So I'm slightly confused now because the Burke Niazi solicitors or Michael Barrett must have got the quote from you initially because the order states your name on it.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
so we're looking at the time. We're looking at the time period between 5th of July and 16th of July.
You know what it is, how it works, just to let you know.
Yes, sir.
It's through an agency, you see, so I work for an agency.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the questions I was going to ask you. You work for Experts in Mind, don't you?
Exactly.
Yes, okay.
So they would have put forward my CV or whatever to your solicitors.
Oh, I see, yes.
And they may have even a few, I don't know how it works exactly, but they would have given mine. Maybe they would have had a few others as well. Sure.
Sorry to interrupt, but surely if they had gone through an agency, the key aspect, as you can appreciate in court cases, is turnaround time and availability. So I'm struggling to understand how your agency, Experts in Mind, would have given your CV to the inquirers without contacting you about availability.
Yeah, I mean, I normally give my sort of deadline. I can say, for example, I can do it within 4 weeks. Or
Yeah.
weeks. I normally have,
Okay. I understand. Okay. So that may have been the case. Maybe your agency would have forwarded your CV and said, look, this individual has a policy of a turnaround time of 14 weeks. 14 days. Can I confirm, is that the case? Have you made your Experts in Mind aware? Are they aware that your turnaround is 14 days?
Not 14 days. Normally, I mean, it depends, but normally I'm around 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Sometimes it can be longer, depending on if I'm busy or not. If you know what I mean.
I know, but this is why I'm slightly trying to understand how your agency could have recommended your name to the courts and other parties without actually coming to you and asking you, well, we've got inquiries from Mr. Barrett of Burke Niazi, and what's your schedule or rota looking like right now in July and August? Are you able to facilitate this? I mean, surely that conversation would have happened.
Yeah, I mean, not in those words, but normally, I mean, they're given a deadline.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, the solicitor says to the agency, we need this done by so-and-so date.
Yes.
Then the agency will go back to us and say, okay, we've got so-and-so person who can do it. Or they might say, actually, we've got no one that can do it within that time frame, but we do have someone that can do it in so-and-so time.
Okay. I mean, that's just Yeah, I understand. But generally speaking, but in your particular circumstances, did the agency contact you?
They always contact me because I have to agree to do a case.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
So, I would always say yes. I'm happy to take this case. Forward for this case.
That's That's the date. That's the date I'm looking for. When did you agree to take on this case?
That's the date I can't find exactly what date that first email came through for some reason.
Okay. Let's not. Let's not dwell on it.
That email, you know.
Well, like I said, let's not dwell on it. It's not as important. That's one of the questions I can ask. You can look through it and get back to me on this. Yes.
Wait, hang on. Let me see. I've just found this email. See, the earliest email I can find is 6th of September. Right now. It already says. I write further to the email below. Unfortunately, RT Vadawani is no longer available, and it will be FB's previous social worker, Esther Lee Solaro, who will be meeting with Dr. Saleem tomorrow. So we'd already organised the meeting for the day after.
For the 7th.
That won't be the initial contact.
No, and that remember that is you liaising with Bradford Council.
No, that's me. That was me liaising with my agency, because everything I do is done through my agency.
I see. Okay, all right. I understand. So all the communications are through this agency. So even with the solicitors, do they not contact you directly? They go through the agency.
They mainly go through the agency, but sometimes they may, if I give permission or the agency gives permission, we can have direct contact as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And what is it in this circumstances?
In this case, I have had direct contact with your solicitor.
Okay.
Times.
Okay. And when was
and sometimes I've had through the agency as well.
Okay. And have you had direct contact with Bradford Council? In email?
Bradford. Well, the council, I as you know, I interviewed those two sort of social workers.
I am aware, and it says
in my report.
Yeah, and that was
the only contact I've had with them.
And so that interaction took place on the 7th of September. Yes. And
it's on my report.
I'm explaining. Yes, it is on the 7th. So obviously, I have your report in front of me. So it is on the 7th that you spoke to them. You emailed me on the 6th of September. Obviously saying that you wanted to speak to me the following day. But with regards to this aspect of your receiving the initial instructions, or that I think is going to have to be a question that I'm going to have to ask you to obviously get back to me on. Okay, all right. All right. So just moving on from this, the first question I had about what date was the inquiries made, and what date were you selected, and what date did you agree to undertake the work? And the purpose of my inquiries in relation to these questions is simply because the deadline date was the 3rd of September. That's what the order stated, and that was not complied with. And obviously, as you can appreciate, if an order is made and it's not complied with, there are consequences. And I was just trying to find out whether, obviously liability lied in this or case, this matter not being completed. Now, irrespective of what other people may have said to yourself, or this is what this person's like, or is this, that, and the other. The next, obviously, the question that I wanted to ask was, what efforts had you made to contact me from agreeing to take the assessment to the 6th of September? Prior to this, what efforts had you made to contact me?
Mr. Hussain, basically, I was told that you will not be participating.
Who told you this? Who told you this?
But I felt that I should try anyway, to send you that email.
Yes. No, but come on, Dr. Saleem, that's a very serious issue, isn't it? It's like somebody's telling you what I will or will not do.
I believe, to be honest, I think this was coming from your solicitors ultimately, because they were acting, on your behalf.
Well, they were not acting on my behalf when they instructed you, but irrespective, for example, you've received instructions to say, look, we want you to carry out a mental capacity assessment, and the subject, i.e., namely myself, is not going to cooperate with you. Is that? So that's the gist of it. And you said, okay, that's fair enough. So I'm going to make a mental capacity assessment based on the fact that I'm not even going to speak to the subject.
Obviously, I put my reasons for that in the report itself.
Yeah.
This is what the court wanted us to do. The court ordered this.
No, yes,
That's
I understand, sir. But obviously, I'm sure you get loads of quotes every. I mean, offers for business or inquiries from yourself to partake in assessment processes. I'm just trying to understand. Please help me understand how that somebody's giving you instructions and saying to you that look, we need to get a mental capacity assessment carried out for this individual. He's not going to cooperate. All right, so you're not going to be able to speak to him, and you saying, well, that's possible. I can do a capacity assessment without the subject being there. Please explain that to me, your rationale, because obviously this is what discombobulated me when I first read your report. That the mental capacity assessment, the whole point of it is that you speak to the person, and so therefore I'm just trying to understand you've accepted the job on the basis that you would not be speaking to the subject, and I'm just trying to rationalize in my mind that how that's possible.
well, Mr. Hussain, the whole thing is in the court order, isn't it? I mean, they said if Mr. Hussain, we hope that Mr. Hussain will cooperate, but if he doesn't, the court still has to make a decision about capacity.
Okay,
And
sir.
to help
Okay.
them make that decision, they've asked a psychiatrist to give an opinion. So,
Yes,
of
but
course, the whole thing is caveated greatly by the fact that I haven't spoken to you directly.
yes, of course. I mean,
And
this
the
is
opinion could change completely if I spoke to you directly. I've made that clear in my report.
yes, I know you did, sir. But I mean, all I'm just trying to understand is that how. I mean, I think look, in your report, I've read that you've got maybe 20 years of experience.
Mm.
And obviously, you work for the Secretary of State, and this is what you do in and out. Can I ask, is this a precedence?
Sorry?
Is this a
I,
precedence?
look, I think, the court is in that position, they need
No,
to
no,
make a
sir.
decision.
Sir. That's not the question. I've asked
Yeah.
you personally, Dr. Saleem. You've been doing this professionally for a number of years, all right? You've got all these qualifications. I'm asking the simple question. Is it a precedence in the work that you've done? Have you ever done a mental capacity assessment before for somebody who you never spoke to or met?
No, I haven't personally, no.
Okay, so it is a precedence for you.
Yes,
All right.
correct.
It may not necessarily be a precedent in law. It may be the
Yeah.
fact that other psychiatrists have done this or other solicitors. But for you personally, it is a precedence in it where you would have, you didn't. This is the first. I'm the first person that you've made a mental capacity assessment on whom you never met. That's correct, isn't it?
I'd have to think back carefully because I've done probably I don't know how many hundreds of
Yes.
capacity assessments in my life.
Yes.
But yeah, normally, of course, the person involved would be
Yeah.
available for interview.
Yes. But like I said, under these particular circumstances in your working career, I'm a precedent for you as far as you're concerned, aren't you?
Mr. Hussain, I think I would just have to say to you, please put the questions in writing now because
No,
I
sir.
don't really need to go through all of these
No,
questions.
sir. Look, I mean, look. You've been very open and transparent, and I've got no issues with this. Look, but I mean, I've familiarized myself. You've in the report said this person's very intelligent. Obviously, I have a great grasp of the understanding of the law, and so therefore, I mean, I've read the legislation. I mean, look, just if you don't want to answer this, just let's move on. If you, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. If you're not if you're not comfortable answering a question, let's just move on. I don't want to press you. So could we just move on then?
Okay.
All right.
I mean,
So
but the thing is, it's there's only a certain amount of time I can spend on this conversation.
okay, sir.
And,
But
the sort of question you're asking, I feel they'll be better put in writing.
okay, sir. Okay, that's fair enough. But can you tell me, based on your report, all right, and you said that it's 85%, and you've made a recommendation that we medicate. What would be the long-term consequences to me if your report is upheld?
It's not for me to decide about your capacity. They've just asked for my opinion.
Yes,
The
yes.
court has to decide.
I know,
the
I
judge
know,
will have to-
I know. They have to decide, but what would be the long-term consequences to me?
I don't understand your point.
Okay, the point I'm trying to make here is, obviously this is a very. You've said to me you don't have the time, or you're giving the you're really limited in your time. Obviously, this is you've basically made an opinion, not having met me, and it has grave consequences to me, because obviously this is.
Why don't you meet me then? It'll be better for you.
Okay, so no, not a problem, sir. But obviously, before I meet you, I need to understand that you're not acting with malevolence, okay? And hence, and hence,
Yeah, I'm not, but I can't. I can't convince you.
no, sir, no, you don't have to convince.
I'm a completely independent person. I've got no reason to be malevolent about anything.
I know, sir, but you're getting paid, aren't you? Yes, you're not.
I get paid, yeah, but
Yeah.
your solicitors are not. They're your advocates,
Well, clearly,
I'm working for them.
I understand, sir. But the reality
As
is,
an independent psychiatrist, I don't even, I'm not even inclined either way.
Yes.
I'm an independent psychiatrist. I have to be completely independent.
I understand, sir. I understand.
Give my honest opinion to the court.
Yes, I understand your legal obligations. I fully understand. And of course, this is not the first time I'm in this situation. But the purpose, just to respond to you that you've made you understand that when somebody is classified as lacking capacity, then it's a curtailment on their freedom and liberties. If somebody is classified as lacking capacity, then somebody else is going to have to make those decisions, and therefore there's a curtailment on their freedom and liberties. So because you've already put it in the affirmative that I lack mental capacity, having not met me, I'm just trying to establish between us that it is correct that potentially, it doesn't have to be the case, but potentially your report can curtail my freedom and liberties, can be used to curtail my freedom and liberties, can it not? As it presently stands.
Just before we continue, Mr. Hussain, I just want to put a time limit on the call, so if we could finish at 4 o'clock, please.
Okay, that's fine.
Because
well, in the next.
I'm just aware that this could go on for a long time.
Okay, and this
and maybe we can speak again another time.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yes,
because I need to put a limit to 4 o'clock today, please.
Okay, so that's in 8 minutes' time.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Because I think the point I'm trying to make is that you're limiting, putting time limits on this, and obviously it's as I've explained, I would like to have an opportunity to address all the issues or concerns I have, and maybe potentially we can have a meeting as well. That's not completely being ruled out, but I need to have these questions, obviously inquiries made because of the fact that a court order had been made, a deadline date was given, and that has not been complied with. Now, can you understand in the conversations that we're having?
I think it's in your best interest, Mr. Hussain, to consent to having this assessment. We can do it over the phone, we can do it by Zoom call or anything you like.
Okay, and
because, if you can, because I'm very open. I'd be more than happy to say that you do have capacity if I find that you do have capacity.
Okay, sir. Okay, but the reality.
I can't do that if you don't speak to me.
I understand, sir. I understand completely, sir. But we're not in that position right now. Well, the position we're in right now is that an assessment has been carried out, finalized, and submitted to the courts. So we're now having to deal with this. For example, if you had contacted me before the assessment had been completed and encouraged me and told me it's in my best interest to have the assessment, that would have been one scenario. Unfortunately, I'm
sure I can still change the report.
I know, sir. You probably still can change the report, but we are unfortunately in this present scenario, and I will need to have my inquiries fully satisfied with, because it's obviously it's now become an issue which I will have to challenge. As you know, you were aware of this when you received the remit that Mr. Hussain is going to object to this. So if you had found that I lack capacity, you were familiar that Mr. Hussain has said that he does not accept this. So it was going to be challenged. So your evidence was going to be challenged. You knew this when you took on this case, yes?
Not necessarily, no. I was told that you probably wouldn't be participating in the capacity assessment.
But you also wrote in your report that Mr. Hussain does not accept that he lacks mental capacity. Yes, you wrote that in your report. You said Mr. Hussain does not believe he lacks mental capacity.
I didn't speak to you, so how could I write that?
No, because obviously those were the instructions that had been given to you, and that was what's happening in court that you've just told me now. That's what they were saying, that Mr. Hussain won't cooperate.
Oh, right, that was part of the instructions. I get really.
Yeah. So that was part of the instructions. So you know that no matter what happened, that I was going to be contesting the report, because already I'm contesting. I have not instructed myself. Look, it would have been one scenario where the solicitors had convinced me that obviously the assessment capacity assessment report was necessary. They have said that we don't want to take instructions from you because we don't think you have lack mental capacity. They're the ones that are like, you know how it normally works. Advocates, I mean, this is what confused me as well, because I said, who are you working for? You solicitors only take instructions. This scenario that you're creating is where you're making me subservient to you now. Okay, it was a highly bizarre situation where I didn't, like, for example, if I had instructed my solicitors to get me mentally capacity assessment because obviously I was trying to prove something, and then I would have, it would have worked. But you do understand that in this society you can't force people to do things, yes, without consent. And this is the whole point of consent. Nothing can be done without consent. So the fact that you have been instructed was not with my consent. And therefore, when I read in your report that Mr. Hussain would not cooperate, well, you haven't evaluated that, like I said, I'm just conscious of the time. I would like to rearrange at your next availability, but just regarding my YouTube videos, can I just ask how many YouTube videos did you view? I know you viewed the walk around the house. Did you manage to view any other videos?
Yes, I did view little bits and pieces. To be honest, I didn't view from beginning to end. But I had a quick glance at some of them, yeah.
No, I mean, there are many videos on there that are not relevant to my circumstance. They're just other videos. What videos did you view that were relevant to like personal videos? Other than well, what I mean by that is that
there was one about your case against the Bradford City Council, I think.
And that
I remember I watched parts of that one.
And is that part on the same channel? Because obviously nothing should be in public. There's
on the same channel, yes.
So this is what concerns me, is that have you viewed any other videos? Like when I say personal videos, are videos I created, because many of the videos they're not created by me. They're just simply uploaded onto that channel. So I just wanted to know what exact videos, because that like for example that walk around the house, I created that video. All right, I created that on the 19th of February. So that's something I created and uploaded. Now you could view that because obviously that was used in the courts. And I was just conscious of the fact that what other videos created by me did you view?
I didn't make a note of them at the time, to be honest, but it was
because
it seemed to be public, it was on the public channel. So
no. I mean, you attempted to you can I ask the date that you made the first viewing, because I think it was on the 16th of September, because you tried to view things on the 17th and you couldn't view things, could you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's in the report anyway.
It's in the report. So I just wanted to know, was the first time that you viewed the videos on the 16th?
I believe so, yes.
Alright, so the first time you viewed the videos was on the 16th. There was a lot of videos on there. Like I said, they're in the public domain. They're like just basically republished on the channel. But with regards to personal videos, you did not manage to view the Halda suicide one, or assisted suicide one, because that's what it says in the report. You tried to view that on the 17th, you couldn't view it. On the 16th, you talked in length about the walk around the house video. In relation to that walk around the house video, were you made aware of Esther Lee Salaru's report of April? Because obviously that was a rebuttal video to her allegations. Did her allegations, was that report presented to you?
Once again, I have to defer on that because
okay, not a problem.
A few documents, and
okay,
I don't remember everything.
Oh no, and you're not a computer, sir, and I don't expect you to have all the answers to me. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you had just viewed the video under somebody's instructions, and view this video, that would have been, I think, out of context. But put things in the right context, you can see it has the right perspective. Because Esther Lee Salaru in April 2021 had wrote a report to the courts stating her alarm and shock and dismay at the state of the property. So she had gone in and said, look, oh my God, I went there and it was like, I couldn't go into the rooms, there was defecation and all this other stuff. So she basically, in writing, proceeded to, basically slander, make false statements and make these, very ludicrous allegations. Luckily for myself, the day before I was asked vacated from the premises, I took a video of everything. So hence me, walking around the whole house. So it does make sense that why I did that, because I'm not given that report. It just seems stupid. Who goes around going around every single room, making a video and then giving it a court? It doesn't make any sense. But you can understand that if you had read Esther Lee Salaru's report in April 2021, then everything kind of falls into place. That as a rebuttal to that argument, that look, she was stating that the place was in such an abysmal state, it's, to justify her actions. So therefore, I had submitted that to the courts, and one of the emails, as you know, I wrote to Mr. Graham Kenner saying, look, I want to submit this video evidence. How can I do it? And so therefore, that gave the justification of me submitting that video evidence. Now, so one of the questions I wanted to ask you.
Sorry, not to cut you off, but I'm very happy for us to have these discussions because you've already said you don't consent to me using this as part of my assessment. So the sort of, you're giving me, you're answering some of the things that I put in my report, but then at the same time you're not consenting for me to use this information you're giving me.
No, sir. I mean,
So
I think.
in a very difficult situation.
No, sir. No, sir. That's you have an incorrect assessment of the situation. When you had asked me, can I use this as part of the assessment, I had initially refused consent, and I explained to you that let's continue because you were reluctant to have this conversation with me, and I said let's continue with it anyway. And should you feel it necessary that look, I want to constitute these as a continuation of my assessments, then because I don't consent, there is an avenue for the solicitors or for the solicitors to get a court order or to change, override my objections. Because obviously I cannot consent to an assessment at this stage simply because I have so many questions to ask. It may be the case that after I've asked all these questions, as I've explained to you in this call today, that maybe after I've answered all these questions to my satisfaction, I may be of the opinion that yes, I do consent to it, because obviously I would have then at that stage answered all the questions, and that's hence the purpose of our conversation today. Now I'm just conscious of the fact that you gave me a deadline time of 4 o'clock. We've gone over the deadline time, so I would courteously ask yourself to give me an alternative time so I can quickly go through these questions. And it may be the case that after I've gone through all these questions, I may, say yeah, I'm happy to consent to this. At this moment in time, I cannot say that because obviously in the call today, you've made me aware that the solicitor told you something else. And he should have been open and transparent with you and explained to you that this is not a continuation of the assessment. So because there are other individuals giving incorrect information, I would urge you to facilitate communication to help me answer my queries, and with the view that potentially, yes, I may consent to this. But at this moment in time, unfortunately, I cannot consent to our conversation being used because the report, as far as I'm concerned, has been completed, submitted to the courts. It may be a case that at a later stage you may be willing to change your mind, but at this stage we must work with what we have in place. So I would simply encourage you to engage with me in a further conversation. Would that be okay?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll get back to your solicitors and let them know that this was a sort of misunderstanding. I thought this was part of an assessment course.
Yes.
But this is actually, you want to clarify quite a few different matters.
Yes.
Regarding timelines, etc.
Yes.
And then I will through them we can arrange another
Okay.
call.
Okay.
If they agree to that as
yes.
well.
Because I think it's slightly duplicitous on their part where they told you that this was it was like shady. You understand? And so therefore, it's a very shady move on their part where they've told you one thing and told me another thing. I've explained to you at the start of this conversation, the reason we're having this call today is because the solicitor couldn't answer those questions. And I said, who can answer those questions? Who is best placed to answer those questions? And obviously that was yourself, and that's why
it's good that you started with that, because at least straight away we understood, each other in a way.
Yes. Yes.
I understood straight away that you've got a certain understanding, and that's why I explained to you my understanding.
Yes,
of the
yes.
ball, and I think that was a good way to.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think at this stage is look. My job is to be open and transparent. All right, and I believe that I can justify all my actions, but you can understand that any third party, as you know, I deal with a lot of people with mental health problems in my family, and some of those conducts and behaviors taken out of context, can be viewed in one way, but given the right context and the right perspective, people say, oh yeah, well that makes perfect sense. That's what I would potentially do. So in this conversation, I started by explaining things to being open and transparent, and I would ask you to and you've been very courteous to me, and you've also told me you've not. I don't think you've in this conversation. I don't feel that you've tried to hide anything. You've been open and transparent, and I hope we can continue with this, because obviously at this stage, I do need to understand what has happened, and if there is any malevolence, maybe you're not being malevolent, but maybe you're being hoodwinked by other parties that are being malevolent. I have made it quite clear to the solicitor that there is some sort of malevolence going on, and I think as a professional yourself, you wouldn't want to be somebody else being hoodwinked by somebody. You understand? You don't want to be used as somebody else's tool. So obviously you need to ask those questions from the solicitor that, I'm gonna, like Mr. Hussain is quite willing to speak to me, but it would have to be on the understanding that he just wants clarity of what's happened and clarity of the report. Can I leave that with you, Mr. Saleem?
Yep, leave that with me, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you, and it was nice speaking to you today.
You too, thank you.
Goodbye.